Hi, welcome to the show. Well, warning, it's going to get political. We have a number of candidates for the commissioner spots that are open, and over the next few weeks, I'm going to hope to interview all of them, and I have two of them here today. Josh Rojas, position number 1.
Yes, sir.
Welcome. And Chelsey Williams, position number 3.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, this is exciting, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't run for office before.
I haven't.
Why would you do
No.
such a crazy thing? We'll get to that later. But thank you for running. Thank you. There's no requirement that anybody has to run for anything. And somebody has to go, by golly, I'm going to run, and gives people a choice, and we get better candidates that way. So I'm really respect what you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, let's get to know you a little bit before we get into the issues, okay? We'll start with you, Chelsey.
Okay.
Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Clackamas County,
Uh-huh.
so in a little town called Canby. They call that the Garden City. And I grew up on a little rural farm about 5 acres between Canby and Malala. So,
All right.
And I went to school all the way through, so 2nd through 12th grade at a public school. It was really great there in Canby, and I still have a lot of friends and family there.
So you were in a rural setting there?
Yes, yeah. My parents decided when I was, I think it was 1979, that they wanted to run a little farm. So they moved us out to the middle of nowhere, or at the time I thought it was the middle of nowhere. And but I really learned to love living in a rural setting, and it reminds me a lot here in Yamhill County of what it was like to grow up there.
Now, your folks might be similar age to me, because I was that generation of we read Mother Earth News, and we're going to get back to the soil, right?
Yep,
that's
that's
what
right.
got me out.
Yep.
And so that's what they did.
That's what they did.
And so the kids grew up with chickens and whatever.
Yes, we had, chickens, sometimes horses, cows. And then when we got sick and tired of taking care of them, my parents just sort of moved to the garden only, and we didn't have livestock. But yeah, that's what it was like to live out there. And we had a lot of rural neighbors. I think the adjoining properties, there was maybe everybody had like an acre or two. So it definitely was a rural life.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I want to kind of walk you through the rest of how you got here today, but let's go over to Josh and take 0 to 16. Where'd you grow up, Josh?
So I grew up here in McMinnville, so spent pretty much the most of my life here in Yamhill County.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't see myself anywhere else. I mean, from the time I was little, I knew I wanted to go to Linfield College. I knew that I wanted to graduate high school here. My grandfather was a professor here at Linfield for 32 years, so for me there's no place like home. I moved away a couple times, and both times I would call McMinnville my home.
Yeah.
Even being far away, everybody's like, well, you are home. No, I'm really not. This is my home.
Right here.
Yeah, and I could never get away, and I probably never will. My wife is like, are we ever going to move anywhere else? And I'm like, well, I don't know. If this pathway leads to D.C., maybe, but for the most part,
All right.
for the most part, I love it here. I mean, I don't think I could see myself, and it's hard to picture myself anywhere else than where I grew up. From the time of going to the movies down on 3rd Street to the movie theater and paying $1.50 to get into a movie, to having ice cream at Alf's with my grandfather, or being able to go watch them fly the model airplanes out at the airport. Those kinds of things are just memories that have stuck with me and ingrained in who I am and what this community means as far as to my life. So
brothers, sisters?
I have 2 older brothers, and I have 1 older sister and a younger sister. So, in fact, my younger sister works with me now at the county, so she's over at Adult Behavioral Health. So that's kind of interesting having her there now, because it seems like the other day she was just a little annoying sister that used
So
to
did I
just
count
bug
right?
us.
Four kids in the family.
Yes.
And you've actually outdone that.
Yes,
What I hear.
yes, I have. We're a blended family, so we have 6 kids all together. 5 at home right now. 1 attending college over in Coos Bay at Southwest Oregon Community College to start our nursing program. But yeah, it wasn't like it was a competition to try to outdo them. But
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted a big family, and I wanted my kids to, when we moved here, I wanted them to experience the same things I did here. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it keeps me busy.
All right. Well, great. Well, Chelsey, back to you on high school. What attracted you in high school? What was your hobby? What was your game? What was your clubs? What'd you do?
Well, actually, a lot of the stuff that I did in high school was academic. So I took a lot of advanced placement classes in science, and not math, that wasn't my deal, but science and social, civics. One year we participated in what was a mock convention, so that particular school district was really involved in providing civics for students. So I got a lot of civics training early on, and so that was one of the best years. I remember my junior year, we participated in a mock trial. We actually went to Portland. We spent 3 days. We advocated for a particular candidate, so it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed high school. I did a lot of outside activities in terms of dance, so I was involved in. I was a local dancer, so I participated a lot with dancing. But in school, it was mostly academics.
So that seed of why you're here today might have been planted back in that convention.
I think it was, when I think back on it, because I had come across my high school transcript not too long ago. I hadn't seen that in a long time. And when I looked at it, I was really impressed with the classes I was taking at the time in civics and social studies. And it was just really amazing, the kind of courses that they offered. And I know that I wouldn't be the person I am today had I not had such a great public education.
Well, like I said, I want to just get to know you. I'm asking a lot of questions, but tell us about college. What happened at Linfield? Now, your dad was a professor of what?
My grandfather was a physics professor at Linfield.
Physics, all right. I have a physics
Way over
degree.
my head.
No, that's good stuff.
Right?
Have him try to teach you algebra, it just doesn't work out the way I think it should. But I actually went to Chemeketa for a little bit, went to Western and tried that out, didn't really like it, and ended up, because I was raising a family at the time, so I ended up through Linfield's adult degree program, which was phenomenal in supporting what I needed to do. So, working 2 and 3 jobs and going to college, it made the college experience still significant for me. Like I didn't get the dorm experience and things like that I would like to, but I was still ingrained in the culture of the college. And I knew that that's where I wanted to be. I mean, there was never a doubt in my mind. Even when I was at Western, I wasn't into it as much as I was once I got to Linfield. And the support that I got there, I mean, I had professors like Frank Nelson, who really were inspiring during that time for me and molded like how I saw the world. And never did I think that I would even get to that point. And in high school, it was Ms. Jelnick who kind of helped me form that idea that that's where I was going to go and I would be successful. Linfield is just, it's a place in my heart. I tell my wife I bleed purple and cardinal, and I think our bedroom and our bathroom are both decorated in Linfield colors. She's asking if we can change because she recently graduated from George Fox, but for me, that college means a lot. I'm a 4th generation graduate, so it's always been in my blood to go there. So I really appreciate the education I got there.
So you were going to school as an adult with kids, 2 or 3 jobs, you said?
Yep.
Wow, and what were you taking? What was
So
your degree?
I have a degree in psychology, so I took as many sociology and psychology classes as I could. I substituted even with my elective to take other classes that weren't typically required for that degree, but because I wanted to know as much as I could in that field. So I would substitute in like women's psych, things like that weren't typically required, but it's something I wanted to be more well-rounded during that time. So I think it was a benefit to me to be able to do that, because I know when you go through the traditional program, you usually have to substitute in those electives that they have and require of you. So, but most of the focus was on psychology and sociology.
All right. Wow. Okay, we got through college, but no, let's get you through college.
Oh my gosh, I just need to get through it. Yes, I'm about to graduate with my master's degree right now from Oregon State University, where I've been an instructor for the last 2 years, where I teach public presentations to college students, undergraduate students. But before that, like Josh, I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree as an adult, and I was a single parent, raising 2 kids, putting myself through college, working 2, 3 jobs. So I feel Josh on that. And it was an adult degree program. And that program was, I graduated and I had a bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies where my focus was business and communication. And then when I went back to college here recently, in 2015, I focused on communication and adult education. So that's what my degree is.
Let's back up a degree. Business and education. Put those together for me.
Well, for me, right now, the degree is in business and communication. So the thread,
business communication,
yeah. So
not
the thread
education.
for
I
me,
misspoke.
all of my education
Yeah.
has been communication.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of communication studies, and the undergraduate degree was in business because I've been a small business owner for a number of years. My parents were entrepreneurs; they ran their own business, and so I learned early.
Tell us what did they do?
My dad was an industrial pattern maker, which is that he built master molds for foundries. So like big pieces of equipment that needed to be cast in steel. And so he started his own business in the mid 1980s, late 80s, and had his own manufacturing, which my parents had originally started at home, and then they had a business in Oregon City.
So parents in business, I had those, and they talk shop over the table
Oh, yeah.
all the time, right? So you heard a lot of that.
Oh yeah,
You lived that.
and I didn't just get to hear it; they enrolled me in doing all kinds of work. So I started helping my mom with finances, with the business side of things. When I actually went to junior college. I went to Clackamas Community College right out of high school, and I got a degree in marketing. So at that time, I was working for my parents and putting my marketing degree to work for their small business, and
Wow, that's
that's how I
wonderful.
kind of got involved with being self-employed, and I got good at finances, and I started my own bookkeeping firm, and later on I started a firm where I did work with associations and nonprofits, so mostly financials and setting up finances, training volunteers, running financials, running board meetings, running conferences and events, things like that. So I have a lot of administrative and operational experience when it comes to that.
All right. Well, that sounds like some qualifications to be a commissioner.
I think maybe so, yeah.
Yeah. And I know you've got, Josh, some good understanding not of just business in general, but in the county budget. But we'll get to that. Okay. We got you through college. You're right in the midst. Where are you going?
I'm at Oregon State right now. I just applied for graduation yesterday, June 16th. I'll graduate with my master's degree in adult ed and communication. Yeah. So happy to be done. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is coming you're just dovetailing those two things together right
Yeah,
now.
it wasn't exactly, the timing isn't so fantastic, but
Yeah.
that's how life works.
It's going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, good. All right. Well, let's start talking. Maybe just what got you between college and right here, Josh? What have you been up to?
For the last 5 years, I've been working for the county. So I work as a care coordinator, coordinating services for high needs and at-risk youth. So I get to work all over the county and working with different agencies like DHS, developmental disabilities, the school districts, just working and making sure that all those plans that we're working together is kind of streamlined as one to support the youth, to keep them in the community. So I'm doing that as my job, and the other part is as union president, which I've been for the last 2.5 years. We just got through with bargaining not too long ago, so that's kind of kept me really busy, and then juggling the family piece on top of that. But the job and I think doing the union piece has been a primary focus for me over the last couple years, just preparing for bargaining, preparing for the contract, and trying to understand more of county operations. So that in itself is a job, just to keep up with that. Even though it's nothing that I'm paid for, it's something that I seek to have a better understanding of before I even made the decision to run, just to understand it, so I can understand people's jobs, what's expected of them. So I use a lot of my free time to kind of research or connect with our members just to understand better what's going on.
It's interesting. You've been working throughout the county
Yes.
in working to identify and help at-risk youth. Is that
Well, and high needs youth too.
high needs youth?
Yeah.
Okay. Part of my reason for doing the show is to talk to people that can tell me how this community works, and have people watch while I have that conversation. So I would like to talk to you a lot more about that, but that's not, we don't have time here today. But the fact that you've been in the county working with all these agencies, you kind of know the territory.
Yeah, I mean, we have to work together, obviously, to make sure what we're doing works for that youth. But also, too, we're bringing along the families, and the families' impact in the community is necessary. So we have to address all those different pieces. Juvenile justice is the other piece, too, that's involved in that. So these are programs that are evidence-based. These are things that where people have their state mandates, things that are required of them, but still able to work through a plan while following those mandates. And there's a lot of up-and-coming programs that are necessary. We're talking about preventative programs, not reactionary, which is what WRAP is. So wraparound is the program that we work under. And it's only been around about 10 years, but I think a lot of different, whether it's state agencies or local agencies, they're working towards is that evidence-based model because it's showing it has proof to it. And the same could be applied, I think, to government too. I mean, if you have the stats and the evidence to back up what's happening, what's working and what's not, it's pretty black and white. I mean, there's no this is working or maybe it's working. It is working or it's not. So you have to switch gears. And I think that, I think you'll see a lot more of it and you'll hear a lot more people use evidence-based language because that's kind of up and coming and people want to know what is working. They don't want to hear, well, maybe it's going to or maybe it's not. Especially when it comes to politics or governmental agencies, because it's their tax dollars that are being put to use. Nobody wants that wasted. We want to use it as efficiently as possible. So I've learned a lot, I think, just working through this program, and I've been able to connect with a lot. The communities themselves and the people that work within those communities. So I get a lot of feedback just doing that.
All right. Wow. Chelsey, you have been running your own business, raising kids, and then going to school. How long has this graduate program been?
I've been there 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and my kids are they're out of the house now.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
Now,
yeah, so I'm
are
technically
you still paying
an
their
empty
insurance
nester.
and their cell phone?
They are still on my insurance.
All right, what about the cell phone?
But no.
Okay, you're making steps. Good. Good luck.
We also are a blended family. Josh and I have a lot in common where that's concerned. My husband and I just celebrated 11 years, and he has a daughter who's just about turned 17, and my oldest is 24, and my youngest is 23. So that makes it a good time for me to do this, in a way that I don't have, I'm not the taxi anymore that I once was, football, wrestling, taxi mom. So now they're out of the house, so it makes it a good time to do this for me.
Okay.
I tried to loan her some teenagers, but she wasn't feeling it. So
I had my time.
Well, Chelsey, so there's been a run-up to you saying, I'm going to run. You were looking around, you're seeing some things, you're feeling some things. You've had this experience in high school where this has always been an opportunity that attracted you. Tell us a little bit about that time between before you decided this is it. Yeah, what was that for you?
I never desired to really be a politician. I think people ask me all the time, what is it that prompted you? But, I've always been an advocate, and I've always done a lot of volunteering. And in the 90s, I volunteered for a lot of different campaigns. So I remember the No on 91 campaign and the variety of different, LGBT rights in the 90s. So I did that, but I never visioned myself being involved in politics until the last year or so when my husband got tired of me ranting and raving, talking about these things, watching the news. And then I thought, I'm going to do something. And so I went and attended a Yamhill County Democrats meeting just to see what local government, the way things, what might be necessary. And it was that time where I met a lot of people who said, have you ever thought about running? And I said, no. Are you interested? I said, no. But the more I thought about my skills and the things that I've done up until this time, I started to vision myself being somebody who could do that and could be good at that. So that's what made me finally decide, I think I could put my hat in the ring. I think I'd be good at that.
I think, I think that's great because I think that you see people that aren't career politicians that haven't from the get-go from college said, I'm just going to go right into politics. You have somebody who's had to grind their way through school, raising a family that can identify with working families that understand what those struggles are, how difficult it is. I think that gives somebody a well-rounded perspective. And I think that's the one thing when Chelsey and I started to connect, it was we both share those same values, and I respect that about what she's had to do to get to this point. And having that understanding of everyday people that do have financial struggles that are up against those things. I think that to me says a lot about Chelsey and what she would mean as a commissioner to this county.
Yeah, and I feel the same way with Josh, coming from that background of, I was a first generation college student. My parents didn't go to college, and my grandparents. But when Josh and I started talking, yeah, we come from the same, kind of hard, so the school of hard knocks, where we both have had to really put in our time, and I think we both do really understand the issues of working class. I call myself the working class candidate, and I think Josh is similar in that, where we both we do know what the everyday experiences of the majority of the demographic that's living here in this community. We're directly impacted by things like affordable housing. My husband works also for Yamhill County Mental Health, and previous to that worked with the homeless community here. So really understand what's going on that level, and we both care about maybe stepping up and using our skills and talents to make things better for our community.
All right. Well, we've spent quite a bit of time getting to know you, and I think that kind of answers the question, why you? If people are looking at the ballot, they've kind of gotten to know you and your background, but also they want to know maybe about some of the issues that are up. What's up for you right now, Josh? So they two questions when they look at the ballot. They say, all right, why change, and then who's going to fill the spot if there's change needed? So what's the change that you see?
I think integrity, but also to transparency. And I know a lot of people say, well, every politician will say that. As for my track record, I'm not every politician, and I've been somebody who's been outspoken, whether I make a mistake or whether, I give news that you don't want to hear. I think being able to share that, because you're not going to please everybody, but you want to do what's right, and being transparent about what the options actually are when you are making a decision, or what made you make that decision, and standing by that. I think you have to take accountability for those decisions, whether you're taking heat for a decision that you made or not, because not every decision you're going to make everybody's going to like. And I think that for me, it's standing by what I decide every single time, but hearing everybody's voice first. And for me, even when it comes to our labor negotiations and we were getting closer to that strike, it was a hard decision for me, because I realized being in that position, you're having to listen to everybody, listen to the concerns. Those decisions are going to impact families. They're going to impact people's ability to provide financially, their jobs. And so listening to things like that, but making a decision, then standing by it after that, and then explaining yourself why you made that decision, not trying to hide anything.
Now, you've talked about, you mentioned transparency there. I know when we chatted before, you had some specific ideas about that.
Which part?
Well, going on the website.
Okay, so the budget piece, I know I had talked to Rick Olson too a little bit about it when he ran, but even recently sitting down with him, and when he was going through that process, I was able to look through the budget, look and see where the money was going, and finding that the fact that they finished the year with a $4.5 million surplus. You look at that budget now, and it's cryptic. I don't think a normal person, unless they have some financial background, can go in and just look at and say, okay, where's my money going? Because money gets shifted, money gets put in different places, and I get that it's needed to allocate in different departments. But what is that reason? There's no reports giving of why. If it is, it's very small snippets. You can go online and look at the Board of Commissioners meeting minutes, but there's not details on why that money's being moved. And I think that kind of gives a sense of deceit sometimes, and it can come off the wrong way, and why people don't trust, I think, politicians in the first place, because they feel like there's some distrust there. For me, it's making it easy to read. I know over in Polk County, they print out a small brochure so you know where your money's going to be going. It's almost like they do. Other counties have used a state of the county address. Okay, this is where your money's going to go. This is what we're going to be using it for. Something simple that people can understand, because I think that, again, that's part of that transparency piece. Not having all these line items where you have no idea what that even means. I could explain my job to you, but if you don't understand the language, you're not going to understand it. The same way with that financial piece. It has to be clear of what we're doing with that money, because we can also get input from the communities too of, hey, there's some areas that I see that you can make some changes, or get that feedback from them. And if you can get that feedback, I think it makes it a more positive experience for everybody. But we could also be more efficient, especially, at a commissioner level. You're not on the ground level. You're not seeing the details all the time. You get reports from your department heads or what, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're seeing every single detail that you could be getting. So I think that's that piece when it comes to transparency of the budget, because it is taxpayer dollars that are moving us forward.
Okay, all right. Well, Chelsey, same question. You've identified some things, either before you decided to run or after or both. What are you seeing that you'd like to make a difference on?
Well, to piggyback on Josh's around transparency, I also think accessibility, and I think he's speaking to that in terms of coming from a financial background. I do know exactly what he's talking about. When people have a hard time understanding, balance sheets and profit and loss and grant funding and all these things. So I've looked at the budget myself, and though I understand good parts of it, I think that Josh is correct. I think there needs to be an effort towards helping educate the community, the average layman, of where the money's going, but also accessibility in terms of accessibility of the commissioners to the community. So currently, I feel like that there's still quite a bit of an old school hierarchical structure. And I think that things are changing. Our demographic is changing in the community, and we need our commissioners to be more hands-on and in the community. That comes down to having meetings when the community members can be there. It's accessibility to the people who are paying your salary. And so, and having an understanding of what those people daily lives are. And currently, I think the commissioners that are, they have a particular set of lived experiences that may not represent our community entirely. So I think that that's another piece that's important. Having people who are living and experiencing the decisions that you are making. You're making a decision as a county commissioner, and it has a direct impact in understanding what that is.
Okay. Well, we've got about a minute left for each of you, and I'd like you just to think of that, what you I haven't given you a chance to say yet, and how you just kind of like to wrap up, make an appeal to the voters. And Josh, can we start with you?
Well, I would just like the opportunity to have a chance to represent the people as a whole, to first hear the community, because whether I win or lose, for me it's more of educating the community on what's going on, but also to make sure that they know that it won't be something that's just for a campaign purpose. I'm not going to just be involved in the communities during this time. It's going to be all the time, and because I have a vested interest in this. This community is something that gave to me, that formed and shaped me, and it's something that I want to give back to as well, so that when my kids are growing up and they are involved, that community will be a place that will shape them as people who will give back to their communities. So it is a big deal. It's more than just the campaign and just being a commissioner, but it's making a difference and making a change.
All right, thank you. Chelsey.
Well, if I'm elected county commissioner, what I'd like people to know about me is that I'm fair and balanced, and I have a great deal of care for the community. I really approach things in a proactive way rather than a reactive way, and I'd like to be a person who steps in to bring our county forward with positivity and with a can-do attitude. So that's really what I'm about.
Well, thanks for being here today. You've
Thank you
been
for your time.
really great guests. It's nice to get to know you personally and to get to know about what you're up to. And again, that's why I'm here. I get to have these conversations, and people get to watch. So
Right on.
thanks for helping
Appreciate that.
bring the
Thank you.
community closer together by getting to know each other.
Thank you for
All
having
right.
us.
Good luck both of
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.